Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Nile and Gerry Tea Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Magic the Gathering, its community, how not to be a bad person, real life, all that stuff. Jerry, what you drinking?
Oh, it's a Red Bull, but
Oh,
it's
but it's
in
in
a
like a
Red Bull
little.
koozie.
That's adorable. That's adorable. Well, Jerry with his Red Bull koozie. That is Jerry Thompson, host of the show. I am Nile Joe Rivers, also host of the show. And we've got a few things to get into today, but right here at the top, want to talk a little bit about a group called Birds of Paradise. First of all, we're in the month of June. Happy Pride, happy Pride. Birds of Paradise. Birds of Paradise is a Magic the Gathering community group that I am a part of. At Birds of Paradise, we are all about making Magic more inclusive, welcoming, and accessible for marginalized people. There are and have been throughout the years various groups that have come and gone that sort of share this goal. And right now, we are one of them. And the difficult thing about that is there's a lot of stuff we want to do, a lot of ways we want to help, but things cost money, and that's difficult. So, Jerry and I trying to raise a little bit of money for the old Birds of Paradise to be able to host events and stuff. So we're gonna talk about that for a second. Big thing we have, and this is a thing basically no one knows about, but Jerry and I have been working on for literal years. Where when Jerry and I first became friends, we had this like long email chain back and forth where Jerry had seen me doing stuff online and been like, she looks like a cool lady. I'm going to reach out to her and be like, how can we do cool stuff together? So he reached out to me. We chatted. We had a lot of ideas. One big thing is Jerry, being a seasoned veteran of the game, has all of this old Magic memorabilia that is exclusive to people who are really good at Magic and who played Magic years and years ago really well. A lot of this stuff is basically impossible to find now. And for the better part of the last like 2 years, anytime Jerry and I would see each other at events, he would bring me just heaps of this stuff, whatever he could really fit in his like carry on or whatever. I would move it into my suitcase. I would take it home, and I have just been stockpiling things of Jerry's. We've got stuff like just grabbing what's around me. This playmat from the Legacy Championship, North America. Wow, isn't she beautiful? Isn't she lovely? For our audio listeners, it's a big, beautiful playmat. It says Legacy
Emrakul.
Championship on it. It's got old Emmys. It's got Emmys on it. Also, we have things such as shirts that you will never find or see anywhere else, like this one, the Planeswalker logo on it. We've got hold on. This one's very cool. This Hour of Devastation shirt, stuff like that. There's a Liliana one somewhere around here. That's one of the sickest shirts I've ever seen. On top of that, we've also got, you know, these old Pro Tour bags. In here, we've got all sorts of good stuff like Plane Chase. Sealed. You remember Plane Chase? You remember Plane Chase? What about collector booster boxes of Wilds of Eldraine? You remember those? Uh, Stuff like that. So I've got all this Jerry memorabilia, Pro Tour memorabilia. I'm gonna be listing it for auction on a website called biddingowl.com. It'll be listed as you're hearing it, as you're hearing this, unless you took a long time to listen to this, in which case it was already listed. I hope we did great. All of the money is going to go straight to Birds of Paradise. We're going to use it to do the things we do, that is run events for everyone in the community, run events for marginalized people in the community, help marginalized, disenfranchised people get to things, help marginalized people within the community kind of just when they need it. That's the kind of shit we do. It's good stuff. Please check out the auctions at the link in the description, anywhere you can find it. If you are an audio listener who refuses to look at a description, it's going to be biddingowl.com/BOP. Bop. And that's it. So uh, go ahead, pause the video. A few episodes ago, I told people to pause the video and like and comment some things, and there were so many comments of people being like, "I have done my duty," and paused the video and commented. And I loved it so much, I decided I'm gonna start calling them pause warriors, like prayer warriors. So, mighty pause warriors, pause the video and go check out that donate link. Uh, if you don't want to buy anything, there is also just like a donate option. Also, if you just don't have a penny to spare, which is totally reasonable, please share it with people. That would be super helpful. Thank you. All right, so that's my at the top shilling. Thank you for hearing it. You can't really call it shilling if it's
It's not, I don't think,
charitable. Yeah.
because I don't know, like, I've been traveling all over the place, playing
Hmm.
Magic for many,
Hmm.
many years and seeing all this cool stuff, and I tend to just buy cool stuff when I see it, and I feel like, there'll be a good use for things later, right? So,
Yeah.
you mentioned that, yeah, there's a lot of, like, cool memorabilia and whatnot, but, yeah, it is just a bunch of stuff that you would not be able to find, and stuff that I've been hoarding over the years, uh, just to make something like this happen. So, yeah, like, please share it. Please do what you can to get the word out, and if you feel like, bidding on any of the cool stuff, by all means.
Yeah. And I mean, really, truly such a wild assortment of things. Anytime I'd go to an event where Jerry was, there was no telling what was going to be placed into my hands. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
like, hey, here's a bunch of hold on. There's oh, there's like hats. There's like hats and stuff. Oh yeah, here they are. This one's got like a lotus on it. This one's got the planeswalker symbol on it. Or sometimes he'll be like, "Hey, here's a bunch of like Pinfinity token that they're never gonna make again. I bought a bunch of them." And I'd go, "Okay," and I take them home. Uh, just a wild array of things. Just a wild assortment.
It was always, "How much room do I have in my suitcase, and how much room do you have in yours?" And
Yeah,
then we
yeah,
would
yeah.
try and figure out what to do.
I would always like going to events, be like, all right, I'm packing, leave a bit of room for whatever the hell Jerry's gonna hand to me while I'm here. Yeah, only a couple times did you hand me so much that I was like really squeezing the suitcase, really, really making room. But we got there. We
Well,
always got
once I went to Denver directly, and you picked me up from the
there. That's
airport, and then it
true.
was
That's
just
true. That
like,
was a good haul. That was a good
yeah,
haul.
put whatever I can in your trunk.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good
That
way
was
to do
awesome.
it.
That was awesome. So yeah, those are gonna be up. Go check them out. It's gonna be some really cool stuff. Yeah, we really appreciate it. Everyone at Birds of Paradise works very hard for nothing, um, to just make the community a little bit brighter, which just so happens, as if by plan, to be a bit of what we are talking about today. So, as I mentioned earlier, it is June. Happy Pride! Happy Pride! Uh, we're going to talk about pride in magic, queer people in magic, all of that, and how people in the queer community fit into this space. And one of the first things I feel like I have to talk about, I would never say I want to talk about. I feel like I have to talk about when I talk about this is why this matters. Why pride matters, why queer people in the space matter, all of that. Because, you know, this is this is far from the first time that I've talked about this subject. Like no one's gonna hear this episode and be like, wow, finally we get to hear Niall's opinion on pride and magic. Like it's a bit old hat for me at this point. But still, every time I do, there will be people who say stuff like, "It's just a card game. Why does any of this have to come into it?" Like, why can't you just sit down and play Magic with me, regardless of, you know, your identity or your sexual orientation or whatever? And those people are just a little narrow minded, I think. And the real thing there is all the people saying that, whether they know it or not, are speaking from an extreme place of privilege. And the privilege that they are exhibiting is that of someone who has always felt comfortable in this community, has always felt represented in this community. Anytime they turn on a stream and watch coverage, anytime they go into an LGS and see people playing, anytime they go to a tournament and see who their competitors are, they are seeing themselves represented. And that, is such a, even just on a subconscious level, a thing that you see and you're like, "Oh, okay, I belong here. I fit here. It makes sense for me to be here." And they just have no worldly frame of reference for what it feels like to never have that. And to every time you experience those things, be like, "Oh, none of these people are me."
Yeah, I think for most folks, it might just be easier to imagine the inverse. Like, imagine that you are like a cishet, probably white male who loves this thing that is predominantly a thing in like a queer space, a queer community,
Mhm.
and you want to participate in this thing because you love it, but you feel a little bit uncomfortable because there aren't that many people like you or whatever, right? And then it's like
Mhm.
anytime you try to start doing something like, oh, maybe we should get like more straight people in here or whatever, right? Then people are going to be like, why is it got to be about your identity, you know? Like, it's just it's so silly. Like, it is about our identities a lot of the time. It's just like, if a space is, I mean, going back to like when I started playing Magic, 95%, if not higher, of just white dudes who,
Mhm.
certainly not all of them were straight, but
Sure.
uh, certainly sign of the times was like a lot of them were presenting as straight at the very least.
Right,
So
of course.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
you should want your space to be more diverse, I think, and that is maybe a thing that causes people to sort of like fight back against this. But I don't know. I do think that overall it is pretty silly. Like, for me personally, Magic has had a massive impact on my life. I would not be where I am today. I would not be the person I am today. And I want every single person in the goddamn universe to have access to a thing like this that has done so much good for me. And I will do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Yeah, I don't know. It is a sentiment that reminds me a lot of my grandma, which for those of you who don't know, uh I'm trans. She's dropping so much lore this episode, stuff she's never talked
Whoa.
about before. It's crazy. So my name, Nile, like the river, believe it or not, was my given name at birth. Well, it was my given middle name at birth, and I always really liked it. It was always my favorite part of my name. It's a family name, you know. So when I transitioned, I decided to just make it my first name, and because I did that, I now had a void where a middle name would go. And I have always really loved my grandma. Her name is Joan. So I wanted to use her name as my middle name. And also because it's from her family that Nile comes from anyway. So I don't know. It all just seemed to work. But despite really loving my grandma, uh, she is an old white lady, you know? And I knew there was a decent chance that when I came out to her, she would just like not be chill about it. And I was like, well, if she's not going to be chill about it, I'm certainly not going to take her name. Right? Like, I'm not going to be like, yeah, I'm named after my grandma who's a bigot. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy. So I sat her down one day before I'd even really started my transition or like really, really early into it. And I sat her down and I was like, Nanny, we call her Nanny. Don't ask me why. I think she chose it. I said, Nanny, uh, I'm trans. Do you understand what that means? And she was like, yeah, I'm familiar. And I was like, okay, cool. I first and foremost kind of just want to know, like, what are your vibes on that? I didn't talk to her like this. I didn't use words like vibe, but, like, I was like, how do you feel about that? And I mean, she had some really nice things to say, but one thing that really stuck with me is she was like, I have been able to live my entire life however I have chosen to at like every junction. and no one has ever tried to stop me or get in my way for existing. And so I think everyone should have the right to live however they want because I was allowed to, so like why shouldn't you? And so she was like, hell yeah, sister, basically was what she came down to. So, you know, now my name is Nile Joan and that's because of her. But that mentality of like, hey, this was always easy for me. It should be easy for other people. It's so like simple. Like it feels like it should be so obvious, but the way that people behave makes it apparent that it is not obvious to most people. Like you're
No.
sitting here being like, hey, magic was always a very easy, welcoming, like obvious place for me to be. That should be how everybody feels. And that again feels obvious. It feels like it should be like, yeah, duh, like no shit. But it's not, yeah, duh, no shit. It's no what so much shit, like
Yeah.
it's so confusing for people. And I don't know, I just don't really get why.
There have definitely been times in my life where my mind immediately jumps to some form of like pulling the ladder up behind me, right? Where
Mhm.
it's like, oh, that would be so great if like only I got to have this thing or whatever. And then if I
Mhm.
think about it for like 2 seconds, I'm just like, that is the dumbest shit ever. Like, do not do that. And I hope that if anyone has that sort of inclination, that you would stop and think about why that is. Like if you have a thing that has been so good for you, which I imagine magic, like this space, this community has been. I mean, magic is a thing that is like you don't really dabble in. It's more of like a lifestyle thing. I feel for most people than just like a casual endeavor or whatever. Like people do get a lot out of it. So why would you not want other people to have access to that? I just don't understand.
Yeah, I definitely think there is a level of, like you said, pulling the ladder up behind you. I also think there's just the thing, like the kind of natural thing of like, okay, so if for all of Magic's history, this one group has had the whole pie, they've had like all of it, and then suddenly queer people are like, we're gonna take a slice. Actually, you guys have had the whole pie forever. We're not asking for the whole pie. We're just gonna take one slice, which feels like inappropriate. Actually, probably not enough for our whole community, but that's fine. We'll take it. When that happens, you're not seeing it as like, oh, a slice is a reasonable amount. You're seeing it as this is my pie and they took a slice of it. I have less than I was supposed to. And it's just like you feel like something is being taken from you. You feel like you're losing something when really you're gaining something. Like you're gaining, I mean, like you said earlier, like it is good to have diversity in your community. It's so much better for the game. And this is like demonstrable too. Like we've seen this in recent years. For anyone listening who doesn't know, in pro level competitive, I mean, even less than pro level, in a lot of competitive Magic play, there are these things called testing teams. Testing teams are just groups of players who get together and they basically practice for tournaments together. And there are some notable testing teams who are frequently on the Pro Tour. One of them, which is a more recent one, is called Sanctum of All. Sanctum of All's whole thing is they are more or less the testing team that is made by and for marginalized people. And so if you qualify for a regional championship and you fit the demographic, you can join Sanctum of All and you can work with them. Very cool group, a lot of really strong players. And we saw with Pro Tour, what was the name of the Pro Tour in the Slogert era? Do you remember?
I I don't
Whatever.
remember which
There
one
was a
specifically it was, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there was a pro tour where the format was standard and Sanctum of All basically like broke. I mean, this actually has happened a couple times where Sanctum of All comes in with a deck that
Yeah.
is like unlike anything anyone else is doing and playing and so unique and incredible and powerful. It's not like, and here's Sanctum of All with their cute little brew that's not going to work. It's like, here's Sanctum of All putting like three people into top eight with like this shit that no one was on. And that's
Also,
incredible.
I mean, the first group of players to really identify the power of like Storm Chaser's talent too, and
Mhm.
that went from effectively like bulk rare to like $15 rare, and spawned many different types of decks. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The group that made Pixie a thing, uh, the group that made Slowgurk a thing, the group that did the fucking Blade of Shared Souls or whatever it's called, the like copy equipment tomfoolery.
yeah, that one is maybe less real, but still, I gotta
Sure.
gotta give props for trying new things and innovating, which I think they have been responsible for a large portion of. Like, the game as a whole, standard certainly as a whole, would be way more boring if Sanctum did not exist.
Oh, for sure. And it's because they are like trying weird stuff and like finding weird things. And because of that, they have had an impact on Magic entirely. Like even if you're not a competitive player, even if you're just like a I go to FNMs, or even if you're just I play Commander with my friends, I promise you, whether you realize it or not, you have felt the ripples of Sanctum of All existing. You know, even if it's just a thing of like uh, you're not competitive, but a friend of a friend of a friend is a competitive player, and they saw the Slowgurk deck, and they were like, "That's incredible." So they start playing Slowgurk all the time, and they play with a more casual friend, and show them the Slowgurk stuff, and that person plays with your friend, and they end up making like a deck that uses some of the Slowgurk loops. And then that gets shown to you, and you're like, "Oh wow, my friend has this neat deck with this like commander that I don't see very often." And you don't even realize that up the chain, Sanctum of All is the reason this is happening to you. You know,
Right.
like it affects everything. Like they shift the meta of standard for sure. Like standard is not the same in a world without Sanctum of All. And the standard meta affects, I mean, basically everything. Like again, there are ripples of it everywhere. Yes, man. So it matters. It's important, and it's important that these people feel like they have space in Magic. Representation matters. You know, like it is important that other marginalized people can look at the Pro Tour and be like, "Holy shit, this group of people who look like me just put 3 people into top 8. That's amazing." You know, even
Well,
just stuff like Nicole Tipple. Nicole Tipple getting on the Pro Tour, um, which for anyone unaware of Nicole Tipple, first of all, go look her up. She's the Pro Tour darling. Uh, Nicole's really great. Nicole's very talented. Her whole story of getting on the Pro Tour is she had been playing Magic and she saw the Pro Tour and was like, "That looks really cool. I want to do it." And then within like a year and a half of being like, "I want to do it," gets on the Pro Tour, crushes her first Pro Tour. I don't think she quite makes top 8, but I think
I
she's
think
at
top
least like top
16.
16, top 30,
Yeah.
yeah, somewhere around there. Which is like insane. You know, it's like going to a baseball game and being like, "I want to play professional baseball." And then just like doing it. It's so sick. And that
Yeah, so
matters. Women see that and they get excited about playing Magic.
two things in relation to that. I played my first pro tour in 2002.
Mhm.
I had my best pro tour finish to date in like 2007 in Valencia, where I got 40th. 40th. And that was my best finish for a very long time. And also when I'm talking to someone who has been playing Magic for a very long time, or like a decent amount of time, like they are well versed in competitive and stuff, and they're like, if I really tried, dedicated a lot of time to this, and had someone like you, like, personally coaching me, how long do you think it would take me to get to the pro tour? And I'm like, a year. So that's someone who has already had a bunch of time, and that's with someone having like a professional coach full time effectively. And I'm still like, yeah, it'll take a year. Nicole, year and a half, just on her own.
It's nuts. It's nuts, dude. And it's just important, like again, I know firsthand. There were so many of my friends who are women who got excited about competitive Magic because Nicole did well. That was amazing to see. And it was like the double whammy of like woman and also almost like underdog story because of the like she's new to the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
It sold you this idea of I could do that. Like Nicole just proved to me that I could do this. And that is like inspiring. It's amazing.
Can we can we talk about like the VML and I don't know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Bob having a play space at Magicons and whatnot, like in terms
Yeah.
of how
So
representation matters?
yeah. So the VML, for those of you who are unaware, was this online league, competitive league. It originally stood for the Venus Mercury League. By the end of the VML, it didn't really stand for anything, but it was, everyone just knew it as the VML, so that's what it was called. It was a 128 person tournament that the first 8 weeks of it were broken up into like a round robin Swiss, basically. So you would have like 8 different pods. Well, I guess yeah, 8 different pods of groups, and within your pod, maybe it was 16, whatever. However, the math works. Uh, it was definitely 16. That's how the math works. 16 pods of 8. You get assigned randomly who is in your pod, and then you would play everyone. And then the top 2 people from each little division would proceed into the top like single elimination bracket. And then that would go all the way through. And then there would be a finals. And from those finals, 2 to 4, I don't remember the exact numbers. Some number of those people got invites to the VML championships, which that was its own tournament. And if you got all the way through VML champs and beat everyone who's ever done well in the VML, who's ever beaten 126 or whatever other people, you would get an invitation to the Pro Tour. The thing about the VML was it was exclusive to marginalized people. Basically, it meant if you were a cishet white man, you could not compete in the VML. Otherwise, you could compete in the VML. Now, as you might imagine, the VML faced a lot of backlash from these people that we've been talking about this whole episode. People who feel disenfranchised when a marginalized person gets anything. And they would say really ignorant shit like the VML is the easiest path to the Pro Tour,
Lol.
which is crazy. And Jerry, as someone who's been in this for a long time and has been on the Pro Tour a bunch of times and has followed that path, why don't you talk about the normal path to the Pro Tour versus the VML's path to the Pro Tour and which one you would rather do?
I mean, the path to the Pro Tour now is a little scuffed compared to my heyday, where it was just every couple months or so there would be a PTQ season, and you would just travel around, maybe like a tri-state area, and play in these one-shot tournaments that were typically 7 rounds of Swiss plus cut to top 8. Winner gets a Pro Tour invite plus some money to help offset the cost of travel to that Pro Tour. And certainly just having the ability to go to, a hotel ballroom and spike a tournament and qualify for the Pro Tour is way easier than playing week over week over week. Uh it, it's just so silly to me to even say that. Like the system now is, go to your LGS, play in a smaller qualifying tournament that qualifies you for the regional championships. Those tournaments are like 1,000 plus players, and uh top 32 or whatever qualifies. And that's also way harder because per season now we get 2 shots, but even for the majority of this system existing, it was one regional championship per season, and that was kind of the only chance you got. It was one big tournament to decide whether or not you qualified versus, for example, like the old PTQ season that I played in, where I could play maybe 12 PTQs a season, just bananas.
Yeah, it is crazy how much different all of that is now. Uh as opposed to what it used to be. But like getting through the VML is just such a I don't think other people who have ever said negative things about it even realize just like the mental commitment and like time commitment, and because you're playing one match a week of your little pod. It's not like just, oh, I'm gonna do a big tournament day. It is you're playing one match a week. And this is what makes it like fucking insane. You can change your deck week after week.
Yeah,
Where
I think
sometimes,
that makes sense though, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, totally. But sometimes you just go to a tournament and you're like, I just picked like the deck that spikes this tournament, right? And I am just going to spike this tournament because people aren't ready for it. And it's too late because they've locked in their decks. This does not happen in the VML because you're changing your deck every single week, or you're at least allowed to. And your opponents can see what you've registered every single week. So there enters this like weird meta thing of, okay, I've seen you register Gruul aggro 4 weeks in a row. So I am just going to throw together a deck that would lose against anything but Gruul aggro and is going to devastate Gruul aggro. And you can just shock call people like that and bring decks. But it adds this level of you have to be like keeping up with it for like 3 months. Whereas for a tournament, you might only have to keep up with it for like a couple weeks and then go do the tournament. You might not keep up with it at all and go to. I know so many people who are like, I qualified for the Pro Tour at an event where I had not practiced at all. Like
Yeah, my friend handed me a deck.
yeah, my friend handed me a deck and I went in with no expectations and I'm on the Pro Tour now. Like that is a common story that I have heard. Very uncommon have I heard someone say I did no preparation and I not only won my season of the VML, I also won champs. Because all those people we talked about earlier on Sanctum of all those people who are like shaping and defining the meta and are affecting Magic as a whole with like the shit they're able to come up with. Guess who you gotta beat in VML
Yeah,
champs?
yep.
Like it's so hard. It's
Gue
so hard.
Guess who I had to beat at my PTQs? Billy Bob, the FNM and boss,
Yeah, yeah.
how is this even remotely comparable?
It's crazy. But the VML was incredible. The VML was awesome. It was staffed really well. They did coverage. I did coverage for a long time with the VML. I was in the booth for a long time. And you might be wondering if I don't know, if you only get your news from Jerry and I, why we keep referring to the VML in the past tense. And that is because last year, I think it was last year. Yeah, last year, WotC pulled all of their support for the VML. No more RC invites, no more Pro Tour invites, no more financial support, nothing. They were giving the VML nothing. And the VML fought very hard to get to keep something, anything, any morsel of let this live. And WotC said no. And there was a lot of discussion internally about, can the VML keep going without this kind of support? And the answer is basically no. Like the VML takes a lot to run. Like it takes a lot to run a 128 person tournament. Like I have TO'd a handful of events in my day. I've put on events for Birds of Paradise where I will just create, run, produce a stream for an event basically all on my own. Me and like a judge friend and then people in the booth. And that is so much work that it made me feel like I was going to explode.
Yeah.
Like that alone was so much like some of the hardest work I've ever done. 128 people with like week after week, like weeks and weeks of this plus coverage, plus all this like prep and planning. Crazy amount of work, takes a lot of staff. And everyone on the staff, by the way, basically doing it for love of the game. Like basically just doing it because they love it. No one at the VML is like making money, People are being paid, but like they're being paid the way that like you pay a friend to help you move. Like
Yeah.
they are They are truly doing it because they believe in it. And without any support from WotC, it's just a thing of like, could we raise money and just host for fun tournaments or maybe tournaments with a little bit of a cash prize? Sure, but it kind of like defeats the purpose of what the VML stood for, right? The VML was a big deal because it was integrated into the whole system, into Wizards of the Coast, into the Pro Tour. You know, it was a big deal because it gave you representation and it gave you community and it gave you a door into competitive Magic that did not feel hostile. And that's a really big deal. I'm not sitting here today talking on this podcast if the VML doesn't exist. The whole reason I got into Magic in the level that you see me at today is because I was laying in bed playing Arena, not online at all, not even aware of Magic Twitter's existence, really barely engaging with Magic whatsoever, other than playing it like kitchen table style. Because anytime I'd go to events, I'd be like, this is not for me. And then I see an ad on Arena for the VML. And I was like, holy shit, that's a thing? That's a thing you can do? You can go to like tournaments for me, and that changed everything. That got me in. That got me in. That's why I'm here. All of it's because of the VML.
That's new lore to me.
Is that new lore to you?
It is.
Holy shit. Yeah. Wow. I thought I had talked. I guess I haven't talked about it. I don't know. I lose I've been on so many like people's podcasts where they're like, how'd you get started in content creation? And it's always like, well, let me tell you about the VML. So I forgot that my own podcast. I've never talked about it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, as I was kind of like coming up as a Magic content creator, because I sort of like I gained traction like pretty fast, and a lot of people were like, "Hey, where the fuck did you come from? You kind of like
I,
sprung up out of nowhere."
yeah, I was kind of wondering that too. I guess this
Yeah,
makes a lot more sense.
and that's true. I was not online before I was like online. You know what I mean? Like, I had no social media before I got onto Magic Twitter. I mean, like, not even like personal accounts for myself. I was not on the internet
But
whatsoever.
but but then how do you post so good?
It's in my blood, brother. It's who I am. I'm just funny. I don't know. Like but yeah, I find the VML. Through the VML, I realized, oh, there's a whole online community of people who play this game. And then from that, I discovered Magic Twitter, and then it was over for me. My life was over. There was no turning back. But yeah, so the VML is the reason all of this is happening. The VML is the reason Jerry and I are friends. You know, like every single thing about my life that has happened because of Magic is because of the VML.
Why did they do what they did? I struggle to understand. I feel like even without the funding and everything, it would have taken one Pro Tour invite, like one PT invite per
Yeah,
year,
I promise you, as
just
like
official.
the bitch who would have been in charge of this, if we would have had just one PT invite a year, I would have made the money happen.
Yeah,
You know, like I would have raised the funds, no problem. I'd be sitting here being like, buy Jerry's shirts to fund the VML. You know, like we'd get there. Similarly, Birds of Paradise, actually teamed up with the VML at many occasions. Because again, as I mentioned when I first started talking about Bop on this episode, it's shared interest, common goal, right? The VML is trying to make Magic, specifically competitive Magic, better, easier, more accessible to marginalized people. Birds of Paradise is doing that for basically every branch of Magic. Now, Bop is most of the time I think more casual focused, but I personally, as a uh, main member of Birds of Paradise, do a lot to bring the competitive people to it. Bop and the VML teamed up at a Magic Con Chicago 2024. And they got a play space from like allocated by Wizards. And it was mostly pretty amazing. Like really good things about it. It was right up front when you entered the convention center. Like you walk in, the first fucking thing you see Birds of Paradise VML. Big, beautiful banners, beautiful, glittery, like tablecloths over all of our tables. My one big thing that I hated about this play space, they gave us big circle tables.
Yeah.
How do we use those? How do
Yeah.
we
Not
use those?
not really ideal for playing Magic, which I don't
No.
know. I feel like
Yeah.
maybe they should have known, but maybe you
Yeah.
just got the extra tables. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I I
There
don't
was
go to
a lot of like playing Magic to the side, you know.
yeah. I don't go to many Magic cons. Like, in fact, that is maybe the
Mhm.
only one I have gone to in the modern era,
Yeah.
and your spot was always banging from what I
Yeah.
saw.
It was packed. I mean, there were a lot of times where like we were at like before going to the event, uh, I had signed up to basically work the Bop booth all weekend long. And it was like a thing of like, I'm gonna be just like trying to get people to engage with it, sit down, play Magic with us, whatever, whatever. I ended up barely being there at all because I would go there and I'd be like, Bobby, what can I do? Like every seat is taken. It's I can't like bring more people to it. You know, like we're packed, we're full. So I would just like keep walking by and being like, well, nothing I could do, and then I would fuck off. But yeah, it was very successful. It was very successful, and people all weekend long after the event talked about how big of a deal it was to them. You know, how big of a deal walking into the Magic Con, seeing a space obviously built for them was. Which was what made it really upsetting when Wizards of the Coast told us after Vegas of last year they weren't going to be doing that anymore. They weren't going to be doing play spaces anymore. And, you know, there was a lot of discussion about that. And basically, they felt like the spaces they were cultivating did a good enough job of being welcoming enough to people and whatever, whatever. We strongly disagreed and they took away play spaces. I ended up meeting directly at MagicCon Chicago with someone from Wizards of the Coast who was like in charge of like community management. And we had a meeting where she was like, "Hey, people were really upset about like the VML stuff and about the play space stuff, and we were not expecting such response about it. Like, what should we be
Huh?
doing to make it better?"
They
Yeah,
were not expecting backlash from that?
they were expecting backlash for sure. I don't think they were expecting the level of backlash that they got. Don't ask me
That's
why.
that's so absurd to me.
I agree. I agree. Um, so we start talking about like what needs to happen. And basically I tell them like you just like have to fucking support us. You know, like it has to like we can do like guerrilla warfare. Like we'll make space for our people. Like that is always going to happen with or without WotC's help. What we really need though is that level of like and WotC has our back. You know, like that's like what the VML needs is like WotC has our back. We have Pro Tour invites. That's what Bop needs. WotC has our back. This is our space in the convention center. No one can tell us to fuck off. It's our space. All of that is really important. And, you know, I made it very clear that I was like, hey, not only do you have to bring play spaces back, they need to be upfront like they were in Chicago. They need to have better tables, but they need to be like right there and they need to be obvious what they are. Like it needs to be like sparkly and cunty and gay. Like it needs to scream to people, you know what this is for. You know who this
Did
is
did
for.
you did you tell her specifically cunty?
I did not say cunty in the meeting,
Okay.
but
Damn shame.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, Bitsy. All right, Bitsy. Um, but yeah, so I tell her all this. I feel like the meeting goes medium plus. You know, it's always really hard to tell when you're meeting with community managers because like their job is say the right things, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they're good at it. And I think if you aren't adept at talking with people like that, like people where that's their job, it's really easy to be like, that went really well. That went awesome. They heard all of my concerns. They said everything I needed to hear. You know, like it's so easy to just be like, that went really well. Which in fact, there was another person like from my group that I went to this meeting with, and we walked away and she was like, that went really well. And I was like, oh really? I thought it went like medium at best. Like I thought it was like just okay, and I'm really gonna like need to see action to believe anything that they've said.
Yeah, they're very good at trying to placate people,
Mm,
and they are concerned clearly about this intense backlash and how to fix that, and
yeah,
not necessarily like, "Oh, yeah, we kinda wronged y'all, and how do we repair that relationship?" It was like, "Oh, how can we make you say that, like, things are okay now? How do we undo the backlash?" That's the main thing that I care about. It's just like, well,
exactly,
already
exactly.
starting from a bad spot.
Exactly. Um, and this all gets really tricky. Because as someone who's no stranger to this, I mean, we've had an episode where I talk at length about the whole thing where like I run an ad for Watsy, they pull it because people are being shitty. It's really awful, and then I like tweet about it. Um, as someone who's no stranger to these things, it can be really tough. Like you should end up with all of these really negative feelings and kind of know where to put them. Because like I was talking to a friend about the ad stuff recently, and I was talking about some like really like conflicting feelings I was having about it, like kind of in the aftermath. And he was like, "Yeah, I guess it's really hard because at the end of the day, Wizards of the Coast is a business and not a person. So given that they're not a person, even though they wronged you, they're not really like a thing that can be forgiven. Like they're not. You cannot like put these sort of like human traits onto them. Like the translation is just like not one to one. It's not perfect. And so you end up with all of these complicated feelings and nowhere to really direct them because it is Watsy's just not a it's not a person. You can't reason with it. You can't talk to it. You can't tell it how you feel. It is an amalgamation of like people and policies and procedures and
And
money
lawyers.
and lawyers. Yes. And it just makes it impossible. You just have to learn to like, I don't know, let go of the shit and like continue fighting for like the things that you need. Bobby Christine, who founded Birds of Paradise, a very good friend of mine, very nice lady. She and I were talking about this sort of recently, and we were talking about how both of us were Final Fantasy ambassadors for Wizards of the Coast, which let me give you guys a little bit of jargon, a little definitions real quick. A partner on a set, like if you're a Final Fantasy partner, if you're a Outlaws of Thunder Junction partner, um, you are making content, like specific content for Wizards of the Coast, and you're being paid to do so. So partners get paid. Ambassadors are people that they pick and they will send free product to. You'll get booster packs and decks, precons, whatever. They will not get paid. They are also not asked to do anything specific. You're not even asked to post about it. They don't
Hmm.
ask anything of you because they're not paying you, but they will send you product. And basically, they're just kind of hoping you will post about it because it sort of behooves you as a content creator to post about it. You get stuff early, you make your little posts, maybe you make some videos, whatever. It's more or less free advertising for them because the cost of the product is actually just so cheap. So, ambassadors, free product, do not get paid. Bobby and I are both Final Fantasy ambassadors, and this is the set immediately after me calling out Wizards of the Coast for pulling the ad and basically just being like, are they going to work with queer people in the future? We'll find out.
Yeah.
Uh, and Bobby is very excited that we're both ambassadors for Final Fantasy. And I was kind of annoyed by it. And the reason I was kind of annoyed by it is because I felt like, it was not a indication to me that they were going to continue truly working with queer people. And if anything, it almost felt like they were trying to like buy our good graces with booster packs,
Yeah. Which,
which
as you
is just like
mentioned, is the thing that costs them the least amount of money.
exactly. And a thing Bobby said when I was telling her this, is she was like, "Well, shouldn't we just like be thankful for like everything we get from them? Like, shouldn't we just like be glad for like every little bit that they will give to our community, because like our community has been so underserved by them forever? And I was like, I get it. I get where you're coming from, but in my opinion, we should be constantly demanding better of them. We should be
Yeah.
constantly demanding more of them because they can do more and they should do more, and they have a lot of catching up to do, you know? Like, if we are just be excited, thank you, Mr. Watsy, for the booster packs. When they send us booster packs, they're going to be like, okay, so we just have to send the
That
queer people booster packs and they're happy.
yeah, that's it. That's all we have to do.
That's all we have to do. And we can do that. We'll send them booster packs. Who cares? And that's just not good enough. You know, like, again, we need the backing, like the VML needs the backing, BOP needs the backing. Now, all of this being said, there are a couple of good, potentially good things on the horizon. One, Birds of Paradise does have a play space, sort of, in the upcoming MagicCon Las Vegas that's happening in just a couple weeks.
What do you mean
Uh,
sort of?
so basically, Watsy is doing a big space in Vegas. The whole space is dedicated to like various marginalized groups, and that is like its own play space. And BOP has a section of this. And to be fair, it is a sizable section, because I demanded a lot of space in the section, because I was like, if we're going to get this, I want to run standard tournaments all weekend long. So that is a thing that we're doing. We're going to have a
Oh yeah.
space in Vegas. Every single day, we're going to be running up to 64-person standard tournaments. You don't even need to bring a deck, because I have reached out to dozens and dozens of competitive players, and they are going to loan me standard decks. We will teach you how to play standard. We will teach you how to play your deck. We'll teach you how to play Magic if you don't know how to play Magic. If you want to dip a toe into competitive Magic, this is a free to play tournament. There will be prize packs and stuff. It's going to be really cool. It's a really cool way to get to experience competitive Magic if you're new to it, and especially if you're a marginalized person. But it is open to everybody. So we have this space that is potentially really good. However, there are a lot of unknowns, right? Because we don't know, what is the space like? Where is it located? How supported are we in the space? I don't know.
Are there gonna be announcements? Are there gonna be signs? Like,
Great question, Jerry. Because this is the thing. Uh, that has been a problem in the past. Of, I think, like the last time we had a play space, there was just like, it was like hard to find, and so all weekend
yeah.
long I'd be like, "Hey, find me at the bot booth," and they'd be like, "Where's the bot booth?" And I'd be like, "Oh, that's really annoying that like you don't just know. Like, it's really annoying that you can't just easily find out." Um,
No, it's really annoying that I don't know, and you should tell me. Like, that's the answer. You did this.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, so that's a potentially very good thing, and more information to come about that soon. Another potentially very good thing is, and I don't know how much about this I can really mention, but I will say Watsy has partnered with me on another piece of content.
Okay.
So they are still working with trans people, queer people. That's potentially a really good sign. And a big thing about the post that I made calling out how all the shit with that ad went down was that I kind of ended it in a way where I had put a like force multiplier on whatever action they took next. Because I basically just been like, hey, this was really shitty and it made me feel really bad, but it's way worse if they don't continue to work with trans people because of this. So if they didn't work with trans people afterwards, it looks worse because I had already pointed out the start of this pattern. But if they do work with trans people afterwards, it looks even better because it's like, oh, okay, so that was just like they really just mishandled a thing, and they do truly want to like do better by this community. So hopefully that is the direction we're headed. And that is like the really complicated thing about Watson is it itself is not a person, but it is full of people. And a lot of those people, like an overwhelming majority of those people are really fucking good people.
Yeah.
Like I know so many people who work at Wizards of the Coast in all sorts of different departments, game designers, artists, community managers, tech people, like all over. They're great people. And a lot of them are queer. Like queer as fuck. We are so on the same side. We are so on the same side. It's just like not up to them. It is like systemic stuff. It is like shareholders. It is Hasbro. It is a big company.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
definitely
hopeful.
agree with all that. It is weird to be like, "Oh, I hate this company where I like the vast majority of people that work for them," But end
Hmm.
of day, they're not the ones steering the ship or whatever. Like, they get
Yeah.
to provide their input and fight the good fight as much as they possibly can, but you can only do so much as an individual inside a building with I don't know how many employees they have now, like 1,000 or something, but
Yeah. No, you can only do so much. And like I think that kind of cuts both ways in the sense of like never in any of these things with Watsy have I ever like texted any of my Wizards friends and been like, "What the fuck? You did this." Like uh anytime some fucked up things happened, if I talk to them about it, they're just like, "Hey, that sucks. I think it sucks too. I can't say anything about it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I understand." And
yeah.
also like I get that you have nothing to do with this and you can't stop it or prevent it or make it better. And I wouldn't ask or want you to try to stop it or prevent it or make it better. Like I will fight this fight on my own.
Yeah,
But
and it's
yeah,
like
that
what
is
what are what are the people in that situation supposed to do? Like, oh, this company sucks, therefore I'm gonna leave or whatever, because that doesn't help either. Like you can bully them for working for a shit organization, but ultimately things are better with them on the inside, as silly as that
yeah,
is. And so it is never the fault of the individual.
no. Also like people gotta work. Like we just live in a capitalist
Right.
world, Like
Yeah.
I'm not
I
gonna be
mean,
like, you have to work for like the best fucking place that you can find. Like some people, are just gonna have to work at places like Amazon and not agree with like what Amazon does. Like it's
yeah, I disagree with that with Wizards though, because I think if you have a resume that has been built at Wizards, you could use that to go somewhere else. And also, Wizards probably pays lower than most other places
sure.
in the same sphere, right? So
Yeah.
that's less of a thing to me because, like in theory, they could go somewhere else and make more money. But I still don't think that anyone needs to be bullied into like quitting because their
Yeah,
place
yeah.
of employment sucks.
Sure. Sure. I don't know. I think in general, WotC is a very common thing we see with them is they'll take like two steps forward, one step back. Like it's always like, oh, they did this really cool thing. Oh, wait, they fucked it somehow. Like, oh, then they did this really cool. Okay, wait, no, it's just like a little fucked. That's why, like, I'm hopeful about stuff like um this thing I'm doing with Wizards, this play space we're doing in Vegas. But it is also a thing of like, I'm not sitting here being like, everything's great. They've done it, they've nailed it. Cause I know from experience that I might get there and be like, oh, they fucked it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
Still
they
though, it
just
is
kind of
that is
fucked it a little bit.
two pieces of really good news that I definitely did not think that I was gonna hear today. So that's great.
Yeah, I kind of intentionally didn't tell you because I thought it'd be more fun to have you hear it here. But yeah, I think it'll be really cool. I am hopeful that the stuff that we're running over the weekend, like the standard tournaments, I hope they're successful. I hope people show up to them. I mean, these sorts of events that we're running are part of like why BOP needs help from PBS Kids viewers like you. Like this is like WotC is not paying us to have a play space. Like everything we're providing, they're giving us tables, they're giving us the space, and we love that. Don't get me wrong. But providing a bunch of standard decks, providing multiple judges for the weekend, um, providing just like time to TO it and organize, like do all of that. That's just like stuff that's basically being volunteered. I'm paying the judges because I would never not pay judges, but like I'm paying the judges. Like that is coming out of mommy's purse. That is not
Yep.
coming out of like Bob funds even. Like that is just I want to do it, so we're doing it. And I would never let a judge work for me for free. So. there we are. But we're gonna have really talented judges. Also, a friend of the community is letting me use her fully real zero like proxies or whatever vintage cube that she's
Damn.
bringing up. Yeah, and we're doing like one night we're gonna do like a celebrity cube draft thing, and I think we are auctioning off a couple of spots for that. So keep an eye out for those.
Hell
And
yeah.
then we might do one other draft with it later in the weekend. But, very nice thing to be being loaned. I will be full of stress for every second that it is in my possession.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh
gonna chain it to my wrist like Seto Kaiba.
Eternal Weekend dates just got announced for North America, and every time I'm considering going, there's the thought of like, well, I could probably get someone to loan me power so I could play vintage, but I just don't want to
But
be
then you have to be
responsible for
loaned
that.
power. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It sucks.
Back in the day when every piece was like $100, it's just
Yeah, who
like
cares?
it's still stressful, but like
Way
magnitudes
less
less.
stressful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm just like I'm destitute if this gets jacked and I owe someone like I don't know 50K or whatever. It's like what the hell?
Did
My
you
cats
see
need
the
to eat
promos?
Trinisphere and tendrils.
Yeah. Did you see the I don't
The
remember if it was the
RCQ?
RC or just the Spotlight series. Maybe it was Spotlight series. Whatever. The Get
No.
Lost. Did you see the Get Lost promo?
Oh no, I did not see that one.
Oh my god, it's so good. Hold on.
Oh wait,
Hold
no, that
on.
was I did see a post that was like, oh, this person's using a square motif instead of a circle.
Oh
Dominic
yeah,
Mayer,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
is the artist.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I di- I didn't know that that was the one of the promos. I just saw the Laughing Jasper Flint one. Was just like, come on,
Yeah. Yeah, they did do Laughing Jasper Flint and Shoot the Sheriff.
that
Like
one is
it's
it's
I mean, listen, it's a
not
card
as
that's played.
embarrassing.
Sure, but just, like, the 2 of them together, it feels like, did you mean to do this when, like, OTJ came out? Like,
But
was
also
this an
those
accident?
cards weren't great when OTJ came out anyway. Like Shoot the Sheriff might
No,
be
but, like,
fine after rotation.
listen, it's not like they have a pattern of, like, we only give promos of good cards, you know?
Oh
We're
no,
we're not
in
we're
fact,
not we're
the
not in that
opposite.
pattern.
The
Yeah.
opposite.
So, like, that, I would be like, "Whatever, I've accepted it." It's just so weird to be like, it feels so, like, this is the OTJ promo set, and it's like, why? Why now? Like, what are we doing? The Get Lost is sick, though. I love the Get Lost. I like the Tendrils, too. I think the Tendrils is really good.
Tendrils is solid. Trinisphere looks solid. I don't know. Certainly the Eternal Weekend ones are better,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I want that Get Lost, though. Yeah, so, I don't know. I don't wanna leave this on too much of, like, a bummer, and I fear anyone listening who is, like, thinking about getting into Magic. I don't know if there's anyone who listens to this podcast who's not, like, already in it, but maybe there are. Maybe you're listening with a friend who's more enfranchised, and you're like, "Well, it sounds like the Magic community is not quite ready for me, a queer person." First of all, happy Pride, queer person. Second of all, I really believe that the Magic community is kind of incredible for queer people. I think it's awesome. There's so many of us, and we're so connected, and it really feels like such a tight and awesome community. Anytime I go to an event, it's like all of the queer people, like queer finds queer so easy at Magic events, and it's like you've got people. Whether you know it or not, if you are queer and you go to a Magic event, you've got people.
yep.
And that's awesome. That's really fun. Like, truly, some of the best friends and relationships I've had in my life are from that circle of people in this game. The ecosystem as a whole needs work for sure. But, that work is being done partially from yours truly. That's why please, for the love of Christ, donate to Birds of Paradise. We're working so fucking hard. Uh, it's the community's there. Uh, Obviously, shitheads are also there. It's good. It's not perfect. You should absolutely play Magic and get engaged with the queer side of Magic. You will not regret that. That is really fun and good and rewarding. Only good things to say about the queer people within the Magic space. It's just the space itself needs a little work, but we are doing the work, and it is so much better right now than it's maybe ever been. Like, we are more or less always on the up in terms of it is so much better today than it was when I started playing Magic in like 2007. And whenever Jerry started playing Magic, I promise you it's better than it was then.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, we are getting there, and we will get there, but we need you to play Magic, queer person. Happy Pride. So that's it. Hopefully that was
I
more encouraging.
I think I think it is just better the more representation that there is, and like the easier it is to just have your existence be normalized in the space, and I don't know, just make it like top of mind for people where, if they're seeing someone who is like very openly queer or openly trans or whatever, once every 6 months or something, that's, I think, easier for me to understand like how they could be opposed to that. Whereas if you're seeing those people every single day and just being used to that fact, and this is your new reality, and not only do you accept it, but you come to appreciate it, you know? So I also don't think that it is like a slice of the pie thing. I don't think that it's like, yeah, queer people come on in, like show up to MagicCon, play more Magic or whatever. It's not taken away from my slice at all, because it's
Yeah.
it's not divvied up into slice. Like we each get our own slice.
Yeah, it's
That
not a zero-sum game.
No, it's not. It's not. We're not carving out of 100% or anything. It's just like, no, we all show up. A slice appears. That's what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Like now you have your
That's the sick
slice.
thing about it is like I would rather play a 64-person tournament than a 32-person tournament. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's just more fun. Like it's just please bring your friends. Bring, like put more people in. If me and one friend show up to play FNM, I hope four more people show up so we can fucking money draft. You know what I
Let's
mean? Like
go.
I want to play Magic with more people. Like it is just good. Like there's basically no combination of numbers of people. Three more people show up. We've got five. We're playing Star Magic. you know, we've got four people. We're not playing Commander. We're playing two-headed giant.
Deal. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think just an individual showing up helps define the space as a place where someone who shares the characteristics of that person belongs, So you are
Yeah.
doing your own small part just by simply existing and showing up and being part of everything. And that does
Absolutely.
make a difference. Like we would not have gotten here from your 2007 certainly, but dear God, like
Mhm.
my, early 2000s kind of shit where
Yeah.
it was at the floor effectively. And we still have a long way to go towards the ceiling.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that is all the time we have for these subjects. Now, of course, at the end of every episode, we've got a little bit of a questiones. First of all, from you know them, you love them, Briar the Goat. Here is our question from Briar. I've heard some grumblings from my pioneer compatriots who've been around the competitive scene longer, and many of them are of the opinion that the state of Pioneer currently is a mirror of the state of Modern prior to the release of Modern Horizons. Do you think this is true? Are we likely to get parentheses shutters Pioneer Horizons in the near future? And do you think the Modern Horizon sets were beneficial or harmful to Modern and the community at large? Breyer also
Yikes.
adds, many of my homies are Modern Horizons haters, hence my apprehension.
Yeah. The problem, I think, is that if you are a pioneer person, a person who enjoys that format, if you're a modern person, a person who enjoys that format, what the Horizon sets do is fundamentally alter the landscape of the format that you loved. And that could be for better or for worse. But if just it being different is going to be a thing that is going to shake you a little bit, then yeah, I think it is mostly just bad. But I do have a fondness for Modern Horizons just because I think that for the most part, like MH1, MH2, yes, I can't really remember what was going on with MH3, oddly enough, even though that was the most recent one. But like MH1 and MH2 came at times when the format did feel kind of stagnant, and it did really it made good use of the injection of new cards and stuff. And then it becomes dramatically different from what it was, but it still does kind of feel the same-ish. Hopefully there are still things that you can enjoy about it. Hopefully, the cost of your collection did not tank. Hopefully, you are still able to play the same types of strategies, if not outright play the same deck that you used to play and still be relatively successful. It's awkward because I think for there to be a Pioneer Horizons thing, Pioneer would probably have to be a little bit bigger, like more popular of a format, more pushed, I guess, but they could potentially also use this as a springboard to then do more with it. But I feel like you need to get people invested first. And they're clearly not doing that right now. Like Pioneer is very much on the back burner. I know that's like officially coming to Arena pretty soon. That's good, but they still need something IRL to go with that to get people actually invested. So I would not be concerned about it for at least a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add. For one, because I did not play Modern pre-Modern Horizons, so I don't really have an opinion on how it changed. Modern has always had Modern Horizons cards to me. And also, I'm a Yogg player, so loves it, but I will say for Pioneer, I think Pioneer getting a Pioneer Horizon set would be a real bummer. I mean, kind of like what you're talking about. I think the only thing Pioneer really needs is a reason to play it. Like I don't think you can really talk too much about the format until there's a reason to play it. People are obviously like, if you love Pioneer, you're playing it. Obviously, Briar's a Pioneer sicko and she's playing it. But also, you can't really just say that much about a format's health unless there's pressure to be playing it. So I would want to see that before we even open the floor to discussions on like, does this need revitalization?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I think that there are some stuff going on right now in the format. Corey Steelcutter alongside Treasure Cruise, for example, where it's just like, well, once there's a spotlight on this will probably have to get dealt with or whatever. But
Probably, but we need to get to that point, like we need to
exactly.
like put the format in the pressure cooker to see like, is that what comes out? Is Corey Steelcutter Treasure Cruise garbage? Or does someone build a like, I don't know, sicko Tifa Lockhart deck that just like kills you on turn 3 or whatever? Like I don't know. What
Unlikely.
are we gonna see? Extremely unlikely. But what are we gonna see? Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question, Briar. And then our last question is going to come from Merfolk Sovereign, and they ask, "Do you take snacks to larger events? If so, what are some favorites?" Jerry?
Snacks?
Yeah.
Not as often as I should. More often than not, I will forget to eat and feel like death by round 7.
Mhm.
The times where I have brought snacks, just like a thing of peanuts. I don't even know if that's like good for you or not, but like, yeah, just
Peanuts
like
are good for you.
peanuts and re-upping on water has served me well when I remember to do that.
Yeah. Rad. Um, for me, it's a little tricky, because I'm vegan. I've been vegan for like a decade. Which, side note, not related to veganism. So often I hear competitive Magic players say some bullshit like, I never eat the day of a tournament or during a tournament because I play better when I'm hungry. Fuck off, dude. You need to like throw this superstitious nonsense away and feed your brain and body. It needs it. I don't know what to tell you. It needs it.
I
You
feel like
think you
that
play better
person has to
hungry?
be exactly 20 years old.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Or has just never evolved from that point. Eat, eat, you little freaks. Here's what I do. Because it's tricky because I'm vegan. A common mainstay is like if I'm flying to an event, I'll just bring a box of like Cliff Bars with me. Worst case scenario, I'll just chow on those between rounds. It's very fast. It's nutritious enough, you know. If I have the home field advantage and I'm going to like an RCQ near where I live, I will like prepare lunches. And if I know someone else who's gonna show up who's also vegan, I'll make food for them. I'll bring them food as well. One of my favorites is spam musubi. Love that shit like crazy. Onigiri. Love an onigiri for and RCQ. It keeps so well. It's so easy to make a bunch of them. I just show up with a little box full of little rice balls. It's perfect. It's a perfect just like between a round. There have been many times at events where food was scarce, food that I could eat was scarce, that I will go to like a Walmart or Dollar General or whatever and buy Uncrustables. Uncrustables are amazing for me at an event because they come frozen and sometimes I'll wear this exact overalls that has a big old pocket right here and I'll stuff an Uncrustable right in this pocket and then the warmth of my body will have it at like the perfect temperature by the end of the round. It's amazing. I love it. So yeah, that's what I do. What I definitely don't recommend is like eating a bunch of like shitty, heavy convention floor, like fried foods in the middle of your event.
Yep.
That's gonna kill you. That's gonna like say goodbye to the rest of the rounds.
Because then it's nap time.
Then it's nap time. You got to be like eating clean and lean and under control all day long. It's honestly like someone needs to do like a nutrition guide for Magic players or something. Like we need someone to come in and teach them how to eat.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the peanuts thing, like, couple handfuls around, just make it so I don't ever really feel hungry or anything,
Mhm.
but never eating to the point where I have, like, that Thanksgiving dinner, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
cannot eat another bite, stuffed, need to take the midday nap thing, and that
Mhm.
has generally worked pretty well, where I don't feel like, "Oh, I'm super sleepy, I don't have any energy," or whatever, but I'm also not a nutritionist, so, like, I'm sure that there are things I could be doing better, but I don't even know if this is even, like, remotely close to being good or not, so
I think it's remotely close. As someone who does know quite a bit about nutrition, it's certainly not bad. I think I don't know, if you added into your, peanut rotation also just, like, some fruit somehow, then I think you're kinda, like, crushing it, to be honest. Like, yeah, I mean,
what if I had,
you're
like,
you're
some
you're pretty much there.
Gushers?
No, I would let you get away with, like, a juice if it's, like, a good juice,
Okay, okay. No,
you know?
I could work on that.
There we go, there we go. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Thank you for sending it in. This has been a long one, but here at the end, just gonna throw in some last minute please, if you can just click the link down below, check out the auctions and donation page for Birds of Paradise. Everything and anything you can do really, really does help quite a lot. Even if it's just sharing it, posting it, whatever,
Sharing's
it
huge.
really means a lot. Sharing's so huge, you have no idea. The more times people see a thing, the more likely they're gonna be like, "Okay, I guess I'll give it a little click ski." And once they give it the clicks, that's so important. So important. So yeah, please do that. If you have questions for Jerry and I, please send them at any of the places in the description below, Blue Sky, Twitter. You can email me, nilejoanrivers@gmail.com. And I think that is going to be it for tonight. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Jerry, for joining me. Have a good night. Bye.